Hi, I'm Craig, and I'm going to share with you how I made this image from start to finish. I hope you enjoy the journey, and I hope you learn something. Here are my ingredients: xanthan gum to thicken the water, isopropyl alcohol to help thin out the xanthan gum before I mix it into the water, milk to make the liquid a solid colour, and fluoro paint for the fluorescent effect. Okay, on to making up the mix. We start out with our xanthan gum. Some people record everything, and that's probably a good idea, but I go by feel of my liquid, you'll see at the end. So I just get roughly about this much to make my concentrate. So in goes the xanthan gum. Coming up is the isopropyl alcohol to break down the powder, and this just speeds the process up a little bit and stops you spending so much time straining out lumps. Here we have some boiling hot water. Doesn't need to be boiling hot, but it needs to be pretty hot. Give it a stir and let it cool down. Straining the mix. This is a very important step. Get rid of all those lumps. Some water. And I'm going to slowly add in my concentrate bit by bit. And here's the trick: you want your mix to be like milk. Milk is really good to use for drops. So like milk, but slightly slimy. If you rub it in between your fingers, you want to feel it a little bit slimy. So there, it wasn't quite slimy enough for me, so in goes a little bit more concentrate. Give it a bit of a stir and have another look, see what I think of the liquid. I think it's pretty good there. It's nice and a bit of sliminess to it. In goes the milk. You don't need too much, just if you don't want your liquid to be see-through, add a little bit of milk and it'll make it more of a solid colour. There we go, just checking it again, pretty happy with that. In with the paint. This is where a good stick blender comes in handy. As I said before, mine broke, so I've got to give it a real good stir, but a blender is very helpful for this. Just giving it a good stir, making sure I can get it mixed in as good as I can. And that's pretty much how to make the liquid. So I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into how to make up a mix for doing liquid art. And, I'm no expert at this, and there's a lot of variables like temperature and thickness, and yeah, sometimes even just leaving your mixture in the fridge for a couple of days can make a huge difference. So here is my MJKZZ 6 valve controller, my crazy wood frame that I built a very long time ago, my valves. Middle one's 1, left is 2, right is 3. There's my bottles. Down the bottom is my shoot from below. Here's me lining up shoot from below. I'll move it around until it lands on top of itself. I find this a good way to line up. Get it straight. Here is a sort of a slow motion, as good as I could do. Bam. Here I'm lining up the top valve with the bottom valve. So I'll switch the bottom valve off and I'll slide the bottom valve around until the top drop is landing right on top of the nozzle, and that gets a rough starting point. Once I've done that, I can then turn the bottom valve back on and find sink values. Because the bottom valve is under pressure, it comes up a lot faster, so it needs a delay added to it, which is a sink value. So you'll start to see me playing with the two sink values here. Collisions in a moment. There we go. Once I'm happy with the height of my collision, I'll then fine tune the position of the platform so that I've got alignment. Some people go through extreme lengths for this. They make up rails with micro adjustment and all sorts of stuff, and that's amazing if you have your water drop kit set up all the time, but I have to pack mine up every time I'm done with it, so this is how I get by, and it works for me. This is what the valve arrangement ended up like from the top. As you can see, they're not all in line with each other. One thing you can do to help smooth the flow of the droplets from the sides is put 1 drop of dishwasher rinse aid in each bottle. Also make sure that when you set up, flush a lot to get all the air out of the line. Air can be a major pain. Another thing to do too is to keep topping your bottle up. Don't let it run down too low before you add liquid. As soon as you see a change, top it back up to the level that you had it at. Even put a little line on your bottle. Here's a rough timeline showing the settings that I use to capture the image shown at the start of the video. Flash delay is when the flash goes off and captures the moment that you want. It's the end of the event. Valve 1, Valve 2 and Valve 3 all fall from above. Valve 4 comes up from below under air pressure. Because Valve 4 comes up quickly, it needs a significant amount of delay added to it. So it's called sync value on the MJKZZ controller. Because Valve 4 needed a sync value, Valve 1 needs one as well to collide at the height that you want it to collide. The black represents drop size, and I know it's not to scale, it's just there to hopefully show you how I created the image shown at the start of the video. A few years ago I modified 2 Yong Neuro YN563s for ultraviolet induced visible fluorescence. I chose a filter set, Hoyo U340 and a Scott S8612. The filter set was actually made for another flash head, but I managed to find a filter holder on a 3D model I modified the model and made it so it fit these filters, but I had a lot of fun and it looked really professional and everything, but I didn't realise that at the time that it was leaking infrared. So it took a while to figure that out. So in the end I had to insulate the whole thing with aluminium to stop the infrared from getting through. I get really good results now. Sadly the supplier doesn't sell the filter set anymore, but you may be able to find and adapt to your flash that filter set, or if you search on Google, or your local camera repairer might do conversions. But if you are going to buy from a camera repairer, I would ask what filter set they use and do some research for yourself before you commit to it. And that's all the advice that I can give you on the flashes that I use to do this stuff. Just be very careful of anything inside. They can kill you. They hold a lot of voltage. Here's another one of my crazy Photoshop creations. The black, imagine that's the camera and your lens. The red is the acrylic. The blue are my UV flash units. And the green is the drop zone. To focus on the droplet, I use a bit of PVC. It's a little bit rounder than a socket extension bar. I place that over the center of the drop zone and focus on the writing, and it works perfectly. With the lighting, ultraviolet light doesn't leave any hot spots. It's got to be, I've found with the two, I've got to get them as close as I possibly can without being in the frame and without getting splash on them. And on that note, please be safe with your flash units and protect them with Glad wrap or plastic bag or something, because they can hold a deadly charge. Flash settings are 164 power. You need that short duration of light to get a sharp image. Any more power than that and you start to get motion blur and you lose sharpness. These shots are done in complete darkness. I do most of my water drops in the dark anyway, but ultraviolet induced visible fluorescence is done in the dark. That's just how it is, and usually you need a very high ISO and very high flash power to get a result. It was a good session. Quite a few there that I could use, and I will. That's the one that I'm happy with in edit. Like, that's my final edit. I think it looks very cool, but let's edit. Bring the exposure up. I'm going to zoom in and show you how chunky it is. Being ham-handed with the luminance fixes that up. I only want to sharpen my edges. And very hard on a 4K screen to see, but usually I try to pick up a bit more depth of field by using a smaller aperture, but I only have 2 UV flash units, and so I shoot a bit wider. If you look close, you can actually see I had something fluorescing in the background. I think it was a plastic container or something. That just goes to show some things are very sensitive to UV and other things aren't. Like, the paint is pretty sensitive. If you've made it this far into the video, congratulations on not falling asleep. No, seriously, this is my first serious attempt at making a video and editing and all that stuff. I want to thank MJKZZ, Corey White. Her ebook is amazing. She is a pioneer in water drop photography. Her ebook is well worth looking at. Daniel Nimmervoll has some amazing slow motion YouTube videos on how water droplets form. You need to know how the water drops form, and you need to know how to operate your controller. Every controller does the same thing. It doesn't matter what one you have. And I want to thank He Who Is for making the soundtrack. He's done an amazing job for me. So all links will be in the description. And thanks again. God bless.